In the next edition of It's About Money, my guest will be Keith Elder. He's the Director of Concert Activities at the Eastman School of Music at the University of Rochester. So stay tuned for that program. Hello and welcome to another edition of It's About Money. I'm Nannette Nocon and thank you for joining us. I'm thrilled to have our guest today is Keith Elder, who is the Director of Concert Activities for the Eastman School of Music at the University of Rochester. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me on. This is a wonderful opportunity to have a conversation.
Yes, absolutely. So there's a lot of concerts at the Eastman School of Music that you have spearheaded, and let's talk about this quite a bit. There's Eastman Presents, there's the Kilbourne Concert Series. Let's talk about
Sure. I think what people don't realize is that Eastman puts on over 800 concerts a year.
Oh my goodness.
And out of the 800 concerts, about 700 of them are free to the community. Mm-hmm. And there are student ensembles, student recitals, and then we have our series, which you were just mentioning. We have our Ranlet series, which is a string quartet series that we bring in string quartets from all over the world to come here to Rochester. We have our Kilbourne series, which brings in chamber music in Kilbourne Hall. We have a world music series, which we have artists coming in from Portugal and Africa to play here in Rochester. And then we have our Eastman Presents series, which is in Kodak Hall. And that series is in its second year coming up this year.
I see, great. That's fantastic. So it's a wide range of different concert activities, but actually you keyed on something I really like to share with our viewers. It's the fact that there's over 700, right, of concerts that are free to the public. So that's remarkable.
And the free concerts are everything from solo recitals to orchestra to wind ensemble to jazz to new music to computer music. So there's a little something there for everybody. It's and free to the community.
And great quality, because these are students who are really trying to...
Well, what I tell people is you're seeing the future Renee Fleming, the future Steve Gadd, because those are two alumni that came through and gave free concerts at Eastman. And so you're seeing the future of the music world here in Rochester.
Right, that's great. As when people say, gee, I don't have enough money to do stuff, that's really... There you go.
There you go, exactly.
So what are some of the memorable performances over the years that you'd say?
Well, I mean, one of the interesting things about Kodak Hall, it was built in 1922. And in its opening season, they brought the Boston Symphony Orchestra with Roland Hayes, which is interesting. In 1922, Roland Hayes was an African-American tenor singing with the Boston Symphony Orchestra here in Rochester, which was very unheard of back then in 1922. And then other concerts, the New York Philharmonic has performed, the Metropolitan Opera has performed. Something that people don't realize is that Winston Churchill spoke at Kodak Hall on the eve of World War II when he was doing his tour around the country trying to gain support from the United States with what was going on in Europe. He picked Rochester and Kodak Hall as one of the places to speak.
Oh, wow.
Rachmaninoff gave a solo piano recital on Kodak Hall stage. And so what we're doing with Eastman Presents by bringing in the artists, bringing in the Wynton Marsalises and bringing in the Christian Chenoweth is just a continuation of sort of the tradition that's happened here at Eastman.
That's beautiful.
It's pretty exciting. Another example would be Duke Ellington, coming here, just following the riots to sort of bring bring the community together with music at Kodak Hall.
That was in the 60s, right?
In the 60s,
64.
yeah.
Okay.
And
Wow.
so Kodak Hall in the Eastman School of Music has been a really vital part of the art scene and part of the culture of the community here.
Very nice. That's great. So who was the target audience? When you say community, you mean the larger base community?
Well, it's interesting because when I say community and I think about a target audience for Rochester, there's sort of three pieces of that. There's the students. We have our student population, both the University of Rochester and the Eastman School of Music. So it's important for them to see the artists that come through here. But then we have what I would call the community, and the community would be the community of Rochester, but also the local community of Penfield and Pittsford and Brighton, as well as Gates and Chi-Line and Brockport. But one of the things that we've changed over the past couple of years is our, our breadth and reach has gone all the way to Western New York. So we're reaching Syracuse, we're reaching Buffalo. There are people coming here from Canada, making, there's been a lot of talk about Rochester being the city of the arts. We're really reaching out and making Rochester the city of the arts. We are advertising in the Buffalo Philharmonic program book, getting subscribers from the Buffalo Phil to come down here to see our concerts, which is, really wonderful for the city. So I would say the market and what we're doing is we're expanding so that Rochester becomes a destination place as well as a place for the people residing here.
I love it. That's fantastic. So the Eastman Presents is, like you said, kind of a renewal of what it had been from the years past. And how did the first season in 2014-15 go?
First season was fabulous. I mean, it was a wonderful opportunity to be able to bring artists straight off the Broadway stage, such as Jason Alexander. I mean, one of the interesting things about the first season that people I don't think realize was Jason Alexander opened the season. Bernadette Peters closed the season. The relationship between the two of them, where they were picked by Sondheim to inaugurate him into the Kennedy Center Honors. So there was this sort of theme there, and that was the theme of the first season. And it was, the community really embraced it. The artists love playing here in Rochester. They love playing Kodak Hall. And so from a artistic standpoint, it was successful. From a community engagement standpoint, it was successful. From a financial standpoint, it was successful. We're able to move forward to a second season, which is always great. And so we're really looking forward to this coming year and many years to come.
Yeah. And so how do you scout out the talent? I mean, how do you get big names like you said, Bernadette Peters, and then you get Jason Alexander? How do you do that? Do you scout it out, or how do you line it up?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I'm always looking for talent. I'm always looking, we're planning seasons now 2-3 years out.
I see.
And so as we're looking at talent and as we're looking at who would be wonderful to have here in the hall, I'm going out and hearing concerts. I'm talking with management. We're getting on the radar of a lot of the artists, so that the phone's now ringing where they're calling me. I had a phone call, and I'm in the middle of a project that potentially might happen in a couple of years that would be a great project, and they actually approached the school.
Nice.
Which is nice. Which is means that Rochester is now on the map or on the radar of all this great talent that's out there in the world. So we're looking and really, I mean, the talent we're looking at booking for Eastman Presents, they book out 2-3 years in advance, and so we're kind
of getting the programming
in order and and putting all that together.
That's great. That's great. So what made you decide? Is it like exposing the students to kind of, it's resuming what it had been before, but is it a focus on the students, or just saying, hey, we've got this wonderful hall, and it helped me kind of, how did that thinking come together?
Sure. I mean, this thinking was twofold. One is that the students are a priority. They're our top priority. We're a music school, and we're very lucky to have the top quality students here. But we need to be bringing in the artists for them to interact with, whether it's hearing them live on the stage. We had Peter Serkin as part of the series last year. He was here for a week teaching with the students. And so it's a matter of having interaction with the students. But it's also incredibly important for the city of Rochester. It's incredibly important for the arts, the downtown development. And we had over 8,000 people at our series last year, and they all have to come downtown. They park, they eat, they spend their money downtown and enjoy the rebirth of what's happening. Yes. And so I would say that's the twofold, is that we're looking at the artists that are important for our students, but the artists that are important for our students are also important for the city.
Sure, right. It's a kind of a dual purpose.
It's a dual purpose.
And what was great to bring the exposure, because we're not in New York City or LA, that the students can easily have that exposure. So it's nice to bring the artist here.
And I will say that the other thing about bringing the artists here with Kodak Hall, we have Christian Chenoweth that will be on the series, the second series, and I have presenters in concert halls all over the country saying, we've been trying to get here for years. How were you able to get Kristen Chenoweth?
That's interesting.
And so what is happening is that managers are seeing that we have Rochester is great in the sense of location to New York City to get here. Sure. We have an airport that you can get in and out of.
Yes, oh, so easily.
And so it, there's so many benefits to be able to get these artists here.
That's fantastic. Well, that's nice. You had a coup there. That's great. So there are so many different events that are happening in our community at various times. How do you market? Like you'd mentioned that you now put an ad in the Buffalo Symphony. But how else do you market? Do you use social media? I mean, how else do you get the name out there?
For us, we use social media. Everybody has to use social media.
Yes, you're right. Otherwise, you're a dinosaur. You're right. Absolutely. You're right.
And we have a Facebook page, Concert at Eastman. And we advertise in the Democrat and Chronicle. We advertise in the Print City newspaper. We do e-blasts. We collaborate with different organizations in town, such as the Rochester Philharmonic, and we advertise in their program book and do some joint packages there. As well as we're out at the different festivals. We were at the Joseph Avenue Festival a few weeks ago, giving out information and T-shirts and getting the residents of Rochester excited and involved. And
actually for us, we got involved because some friends of ours went, you should go to these concerts. They're really nice. I'm like, oh, let me look it up. So it's like, okay.
And that's what the other thing that we're finding is that people that they go to one concert and then they come back, but they come back with somebody else, and then it's sort of the ripple effect has
and I think Rochester is that way. Everybody kind of talks about what's happening, and then you want to bring your friends in because it's great. You don't want to miss out on this great thing going on. So yeah, word of mouth, I think, in this community is a very powerful tool. Also. It is. So yeah. That's great. So now, how do you plan to continue to renew the programming? I mean, you've got some great names that you've gotten in the last, just for lineup for the first and second year. But how do you, like you said, you're booking already, like 3 or 4 years out, and
I mean, what's interesting that we're looking at is the first 2 series, variety, has been the main topic. Main sort of focus. There's something for everybody, whether it's jazz or Broadway or classical. The second season we have 2 orchestras. One's an international orchestra, the other one's a ukulele orchestra. Completely different variety. Yes. And I think, looking forward, there's a good chance that you'll see dance potentially on the series.
Ah, okay.
There'll be a continuation of variety. You potentially will be seeing lectures. I mean, lectures were important and very vital to the George Eastman vision and having the great minds here to be able to speak, and so I think really that's something that we're looking at potentially moving towards. But the core of the series will always be music. Eastman School of Music is very important to be the core. And the other core will be the level of artist that we're looking at bringing. We want to always bring an artist here that is of the top level. Might not be somebody might know about, but an example being on the first season, Kodo drummers. Not many people knew who the Kodo drummers were.
But they were great.
They were phenomenal.
So I was like, wow, blowing your mind. And usually it's like a lot of beating, like I wouldn't like this, but sat there and like, wow, I love this.
Yeah. No, and we were very lucky to get that concert because they come here, their drums get shipped over, they're only here for a short period of time, and they play, as I tell people, I want Kodak Hall to be on the level of Carnegie Hall, Kennedy Center, Symphony Hall, Orchestra Hall in Chicago, Kodak Hall. And those are the halls that Kodo drummer were playing in.
Oh, that's fantastic. What a great vision. Why not? Elevate it to that level.
Which then elevates the reputation of the city, which then helps bringing business here, helps bringing making Rochester a destination place.
Yeah, even greater for the Eastman School of Music.
Yes.
It just occurred to me that Eastman Presents the tradition of George Eastman, and his name is right there.
Yes!
On that note, we'll take a quick break. My guest is Keith Elder, and I'm Nannette Nocon. We'll be right back. And we're back. My name is Nannette Nocon. It's about money, and my guest is Keith Elder, and he's the director of concert activities at the Eastman School of Music at the University of Rochester. Thanks again for being here, Keith.
No, thank you for having me on here.
So I'm going to start this half by asking you. You're an attorney by training.
I am an attorney by training, yes.
And so tell me how that background and that experience comes into play in your work.
Well, prior to coming to Rochester, I had worked 18 years for the Boston Symphony Orchestra and Boston Pops, and went to law school nights because of contracts that I was working on, because of sort of the legal aspect of the music business.
Oh.
And that's where the law school sort of fits into the pie. That education with what I'm doing here at Eastman has been incredibly beneficial, working with management, working with artists, making sure that all the pieces are put together, all the details are put together. And so you wouldn't think that law and music fit together, but they fit together incredibly well.
Oh, that's great, especially from a financial standpoint. If you understand the contracts well, from a legal
Exactly.
perspective, then that could save a lot of money.
Saves a lot of
headache.
money, as well as it protects the interests of what we're doing.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't know
Yeah.
how that all fit. You know, where did that turn go? It's really, it's an enhancement of what
It
you
was an
can offer.
enhancement, yeah.
And that's really impressive that you had been with the Boston Symphony and then come to the Eastman.
Yes.
School.
No, I was in Boston, and then between Boston and Eastman, I was with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. And then I had a law practice back and was completely out of the business back in Boston, and heard about the opening through Doug Lowry, who was the dean at the time, and came to Rochester.
Oh, very nice. Well, wonderful for the community to have you. So,
Thank you.
so there are. How do you find Rochester with regards to supporting the efforts that the Eastman School of Music does? You know, the programs that you're putting together.
Rochester is a very unique community. It has an orchestra, the Rochester Philharmonic, which is a phenomenal orchestra here. It has the Eastman School of Music, which is, I believe, the top music school in the country, if not one of the top music schools in the country. It has Jiva Theatre, which is one of the premier equity theater companies. It has WXXI radio, as well as television. And so, for a size that Rochester is, it's an amazing and vibrant arts community. I came from Boston, which people would say, oh, Boston has a thriving arts community. We had the orchestra, and we had a smaller theater company. We didn't have a full-time classical music station. We didn't have a full-time jazz music station on the radio. And so, you know, Rochester is unique from that standpoint. And the audience that we have here, and the audience members, they're very knowledgeable. They know what's good. They know what's bad. And
they'll tell you.
And they'll tell you, exactly, which is actually
great.
which is great, because you know, when we were talking about the community and who the market, you know, we want to make sure that we're providing things for the community. But as a community, Rochester is a very special, vibrant arts community.
Oh, that's great to hear. I mean, I feel that living here. I love living here. I love that you can go to all these venues.
You know, and I was just talking about the organizations that are year-round. We have the Fringe Festival that's here for a week. We have the Jazz Festival. We have the Cornhill Festival, the Clothesline Festivals. I mean, the amount of activity that we have here in Rochester is incredible. But what's incredible is that the city can support that amount of activity.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, there are, you know, all of these organizations are thriving. All these organizations have people attending. We have hundreds of thousands of people going to Cornhill or Fringe or the Jazz Festival, and so it's pretty amazing. I had never been to Rochester prior to 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
And I've fallen in love with the city.
Yeah, it's great. I love that we live downtown, and sometimes we go to a concert at the Eastman Theatre,
Mhm.
and then at Kodak Hall, and then go to Jiva. And then you're like, you could do two things because you could walk within 10 minutes you're there, you know?
You can walk, or there's no traffic. You can drive between the places easily.
True.
Yes.
That's
no.
true. You don't have to arrive like an hour in advance to try to
Exactly.
find parking. Yeah,
Exactly.
5 minutes will do it, frankly. So and that's a little too tight. But so what's the best way if a community member wanted to find out what's happening with Eastman Presents, with the different concerts provided by the Eastman School of Music? How do they go about finding those?
Very easy. It's all online.
Okay.
So there's eastmantheatre.org. Eastman Theatre, all one word, .org, has all of our concerts on there. We have a Facebook page, as I mentioned, that if people want to join our concerts at Eastman Facebook page. Daily we post what's going on, what's coming up. And so those are generally the two easiest ways, because there is a current and you can find all the information right there.
That's great. And then how do they find out about the other activities that's available? Like that, you know, the different recitals and things like that?
EastmanTheatre.org can give you a link to go to our Eastman School of Music website, which has all the free concerts, or that's esm.rochester.edu. And that has a calendar on the right-hand side that has all of the free concerts. And these are concerts by our students that are, you know, the orchestra is an amazing orchestra. Our students' recitals are top-notch. And then we also have our faculty artists. Our faculty artist series, we have 34 concerts of faculty members giving recitals.
That's amazing.
And these are faculty members that play all over the world.
Right.
And they're right here in the backyard of in Rochester.
It's a great deal, actually.
It is. It's a fabulous deal.
So there are different performance halls at the Eastman School. So you've got the Kodak Hall, which is a lot of people are familiar with. But then there's two other.
And then there's two other halls, right?
Yes,
We have Kilbourne Hall, which is a little under 450 seats, and is a chamber music hall. And Rochester, I don't know if Rochester realizes how lucky they are to have Kilbourne Hall.
So tell me about that. What is a chamber music hall?
Chamber music hall is a smaller hall that is acoustically for smaller groups. I get calls from some of the top classical artists that want to perform in Kilbourne Hall. We have Andras Schiff. Andras Schiff is a pianist that will be here in the coming season, and he performs all over Carnegie Hall, Symphony Hall in Boston, big halls, big 2,000-seat halls. And the Rochester community is able to see him in a 450-seat intimate hall
that he requested
that he requested to come here and perform. He's very excited to come. He's one of the top pianists in the world. And we get artists that are calling to perform in Kilbourne Hall. It was built the exact same time that Kodak Hall was built in 1922. We're very fortunate to be able to have that at the Eastman School of Music. Students do their recitals there.
Yes, I've seen a few. It's really amazing.
Jazz Fest uses the hall during the Jazz Fest.
The
Fringe Fest
okay.
Coming up. We have Fringe Fest events in the hall. So it's a great gem for the city.
Yeah, I've heard the students say it's just perfect, and I can imagine that a musician who has been performing someplace, many places in the world, to say, gee, I want to go someplace where I could, the acoustics in the perfect.
Well, yeah, I'll give you an example of the hall. Last year, we had Stephanie Blythe, a soprano, who she was doing her Carnegie Hall concert. And whenever a major artist does a Carnegie Hall concert, they want to sort of do some prep recitals to get the nerves out.
Okay, it sure makes sense.
Which makes sense. And we got a call that she wanted to do one of her prep recitals in Kilbourne Hall. And that's how we got Stephanie Blythe to come to Rochester to prepare for her. So the Rochester community got to see Stephanie Blythe's Carnegie Hall performance in a very intimate hall.
Oh,
I mean,
nice.
That's
a treat.
It is a fabulous
Save
treat.
people a trip to New York, right? That's fantastic, and I think many people don't realize that, but that's kind of nice that it's a stop before making...
It's a stop, yeah, it's a stop on the way. And that's, back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, that for the artists, when they were coming through on the train, whether they were coming from New York or Boston to Cleveland or Toronto, that's why many of the artists stopped here in Rochester. It was a perfect stop. Well, now we're getting back on the radar of everybody that it's a perfect stop. And so that's how
Love
we're
it.
able to do that.
That's really great. So, and then describe for us the smaller, newer hall.
Well, that's another hall that we have, which is Hatch Recital Hall, and it's a 222-seat hall, where Kodak Hall and Kilbourne Hall are very architecturally. You know, you walk in and they're beautiful. They're the older 1922 architecture. Hatch Hall has the beauty of sort of cutting edge architecture. It has technology in the hall that we can do internet to, meaning we can have a professor at Hatch Hall have a conversation with somebody in Sweden at the same time and do a master class at the same time, so that we're able to connect the world through Hatch Recital Hall. And we have, it's a beautiful hall for guitar and cello, and we have some of our faculty playing in there as well.
Sure,
And
I
so
think it's great. It's nice that single seats around.
it is, yes.
So.
And you're so close to the stage, it's almost like you feel like you're sitting in a parlor with,
Sure.
with the
It's
artist.
kind of like a private concert,
Yes.
like you're the only audience there, but it's
Exactly.
a little bit bigger, 200
Yeah.
people, but it's intimate enough that you feel like a good connection with the
Exactly.
musician,
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
performers. So what do you see in the future of the programming?
The future of the programming, I see that, you know, the level of the artist continuing to grow. Collaborations with students. You know, on the second season we have Bella Fleck, but Bella Fleck is coming to play with our students in our wind ensemble, which is very unique. The other thing that I've done in programming in other places that I've been that I really want to do here in Rochester is put together a project that you can only see in Rochester. These are projects that artists have been wanting to do, but you can only see it here. You have to come here, Rochester, to see the project. I mentioned that dance and figuring a way of doing dance on the series, I think, is an exciting project. And really being a center for the community and a center for the rebirth of the downtown area. I mean, this hall, the location, and as everything is sort of building, the homes and the apartments and the commerce that's happening downtown, it's an exciting time.
Yes, I'm totally with you. It's just so many good things going on, and I feel privileged to be living downtown and be able to take advantage of all of that. You know.
And we're very thankful that you are living downtown and that we see you at the concerts. It's great seeing you there and having you be part of what we do.
And so also, business community can also support the Eastman series, so they can...
That's one of the things that we've started that has been, you know, when we talk about success of the first season, is that we've had corporations sponsor concerts. You know, we're not able to do this without sponsorship, like every other arts organization. And, you know, it's wonderful to have the business community to support these events. And it gives the business community the opportunity of having, you know, guests at the concerts, as well as a wonderful night out and a wonderful experience. You know, we had the sponsor of the Jason Alexander and the corporation that sponsored Jason Alexander last year, you know, had a meet and greet with Jason Alexander, and so those are some very special things we're able to offer our sponsors.
Very nice. That's great. That's great. I love what is happening downtown. I love all the good things that you're doing for through the Eastman School of Music. It's really fantastic. Thank you so much for being a guest on my show. I wish I had more time to ask more questions, but this is great. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me. This is wonderful.
And thanks our viewers for listening in. Keith Elder is the Director of Concert Activities at the Eastman School of Music at the University of Rochester. I'm Nannette Nocon. Until next time, it's about money.